Hey guys, it's Blockchain Brad. Used to be known as Skivvy Man. I've just decided to change my name. My real name is Brad, so I thought it makes sense to do that. I just wanted to firstly say that any advice that I do give or any information I provide today is not designed to be any financial advice. So I just want to add that disclaimer. I've just recently done 2 podcasts. That's my preference, sort of, to try and jump into the crypto space and take part in this awesome community. I wanted to also thank Tyler Swipe, aka the Crypto Chico from America, for getting back to me, and also to Bo. I've been in communication with him via Twitter. And both of these guys are unreal in terms of doing some good quality analysis of various quality tokens and blockchain technologies. Today, you can probably, it's no surprise, I wanted to talk a bit about NEO. There was just so many cool things that I think are worth noting. But I guess I'm going to try and use the screen as part of the convo. You can see here that there's no doubt that NEO has had a really good run. I'll just go to the Aussie chart that I use, the AUD, just simply because I like CoinGecko. One of the things that you can notice here is that just in the period of 1 day, for all the traders out there, there's been a slight movement up, from 25.5 or 25.5 Australian dollars, which you can certainly convert all of this over to the USD as well, but it's really just to show market movement in the last 24 hours. So it's moved slightly. What I really like about this, if you go across to the 30-day chart, which I often do in the very short period of time I've been investing in cryptos, is I like to look at the 30-day chart and see what the tendency has been for that particular token or currency. And in this instance, NEO is looking incredible. I said it previously, just to family and friends, but really I was looking at around the 25th as a point in which the market was not so much going to bottom, but was going to turn. I'm happy to state that now. I think that that's what's gradually happening. It may do it tomorrow, but essentially, if you look across at the 60-day mark, you'll notice that it's had a significant bear run. It's really suffered from this. Well, not so much suffered for all those who bought in as it was rising, but typically when there's a rise like this, the mathematics, basic math will tell you that there's a tendency in almost all live markets for it to sort of peter out gradually to a point, typically that isn't at the first point of the first rising point. So I'm not technical, you can tell that, but at 1912 here you can see that that's when it started to rise significantly, and then it didn't even it did breach that slightly, which is an ideal time to consider jumping in if that's what you want to do. But I've actually invested throughout this last phase, right from the 14th of September right through to today. So yeah, it's worth checking out, guys, because this particular pullback is looking really good for present day investing. Okay, so I wanted to talk about NEO, some things that a lot of people are not talking about, and a select few I've noticed are. The first thing that I think is really worth talking about today is a thing called NEOX. And if you're not familiar with NEOX, I would encourage you all to get really familiar with it. I ended up finding an awesome bit of information from a guy named CryptoFuture. So shout out to you, buddy. I've subscribed to you just for this one video. He managed to find a promo video that was done by somebody else who on Vimeo. And the promo went on and it tried to explain a bit of the functionalities of NEOX, NEOQ, and NEOFS. And I'll just add one more in there, and that's NEOMessage. The reason why NEOX is so unreal is because it is a cross-chain protocol, and it has an adapter module that creates interoperability between blockchains. Now, when I was listening to other people analyze it, various people had their own spin, but some were saying it's just going to enfranchise atomic swaps like Charlie Lee's recently done. But I would sort of pull back a bit from that analysis and focus more on the consortium blockchain and the public blockchains that are DNA and NEO. So if I'm going too fast, I just want to retract a little bit. DNA is the protocol that underpins the consortium blockchain that, or enterprise blockchain, that known as on-chain. Da Hongfei, who is the CEO of NEO, he is one of the CEO equivalents. They call it a CIO, I think, something like that. He is heavily positioned, or he has he has a major stake and a major role in on-chain, and DNA is basically the protocol and the language that underpins it, much like the structure of NEO in the government, or sorry, in the public decentralized blockchain. So why are we talking about NEOX today? Well, this is really important because this is going to significantly affect the price of NEO in the near future. Within the next 6 months, you're going to see significant announcements, I would imagine, about all three of these things, the NEOX, NEOQ, and the NEOFS. But NEOX is special because what it's actually going to do, it's going to bridge the consortium blockchain that is on-chain and the public blockchain that I'm actually part of, and no doubt many of you listeners, or if you're considering it, and that is NEO. So why would that be good? Well, it's massive because at the moment, what DNA stands for is a language that allows for venture capitalists to back on-chain, which is essentially a company. It's a privatized company that's designed to facilitate the uptake of other blockchains within the Chinese space. Now, I only use that term very lightly because it's actually not a Sino-specific or Chinese-specific technology. Everyone thinks that, or not everyone, but a lot of people do, but it's just not the case. And Red Pulse is proof of that. What is really important to understand, though, is that the design of NEO is so robust in comparison even to Ethereum, to be honest. The only thing that may rival it, and I don't know that much about it, is Icon, and I'm really looking forward to understanding that further. But as I've said in previous podcasts, there's every chance that Icon are learning from the structures of NEO and using that because they are just so incredible. So getting back to NEOX, the reason why it is so worth knowing about is because what it's doing is, when we talk about cross-chain, CryptoFuture and a few other people I think had mentioned that it facilitates this idea of an atomic swap, much like Charlie Lee had done. But what I think needs to be focused upon is not so much that there is this decentralized mechanism that enfranchises cross-chain interaction without the use of a centralized agent. But what is more important is that it integrates a permissioned and a permissionless environment, or a trusted and a trustless environment. And that is really important because everybody knows that Kyber was recently released. It's backed by Vitalik. There's also other decentralized dApps coming up, but this one is an inbuilt one within the blockchain itself. So I'll just sorry, that's my dog. So I'll just repeat that again. Rather than have a dApp that attaches onto the blockchain tech itself as a platform, what is going to happen is that the NEOX is going to allow the interaction and the interoperability of DNA / on-chain and NEO. Now, if you think about it for a moment, for the last nigh on a decade, Da Hongfei and Eric have been working really diligently to try and develop DNA within the enterprise space, or within the business sector of China. If this opens up and allows NEO shareholders, which is essentially what they are, it's unique in the crypto space, it really isn't so much just a token, but those who hold NEO will actually be able to interact in a way that has never been seen yet. And that is going to significantly alter not only the price and value of NEO, but it's going to make the entire ecosystem a much more real-world and financially beneficial space for anyone who was previously in NEO. that being said, obviously, you know, I've researched this as well. If you could go and invest in DNA, and you could invest in on-chain, I think most people would, and you know, if they'd done the research. But at this point, it's not possible. And as I said previously, in podcast 2, what's happened? This is coming from Da Hongfei himself. It looks like ICOs are going to pretty much be ceased, and if I'll be surprised if, you know, that isn't the case. But it's not such a bad thing, because it's going to become somewhat privatized in the way in which cash is generated for projects. So essentially, I think we get too caught up in the whole ICO thing anyway, because ICO themselves means nothing except crowdfunding. It means nothing except the generation of income to support, at the very least, an idea, at the very worst, a piece of crap that, you know, was nothing anyway. So really, we need to be focused more on the premise behind the idea and the team behind the idea. And that's certainly the way I look at it. I love that NEO are not going to go gung-ho and just simply, you know, encourage everybody to just jump on the bandwagon and be part of the ecosystem. They are being really, really careful, and they've got their business and tech combs out, and they're certainly going through everything carefully to make sure that they weed out any of the non-viable and non-applicable dApps or business models or plans or ideas, so that they don't waste time and they don't just sort of lose the best reputation, in my opinion, of all blockchains out there. So if you want to look at it from a bank standpoint, they are AAA in my opinion. You know, the highest quality that you can get, and then, you know, the quality diminishes for different kinds of dApps and blockchains out there. So I'll just reiterate that again. DNA and NEO via the NEOX protocol, or is going to allow an interlinkage. They're going to allow a bridging between two very distinct entities, one being for, you know, enterprise, consortium, big business, the other one being the public decentralized blockchain. And that simply means that you have a gateway. NEOX functions as a gateway to big business in China and what will eventually be other areas of Asia, and then eventually it will grow, most likely simply because of its sophisticated tech, into the West. So, but at this stage, there's no question, given some of the stuff I've read, that NEO itself is being backed by the government, and I'm really confident of that. And my own personal investments, to be honest, reflect a lot of confidence in NEO, and I try not to be an emotional investor. To be honest, I try to look at what the evidence out there. Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to mention that it's definitely worth looking into. Going over to NEOQ for a moment. NEOQ is another up and coming component that there'll be much more information released on NEOQ, but essentially what NEOQ is, it supports quantum computer proofing. So that just means that as quantum computer technology increases, NEO has already prepared for that by embedding the NEOQ functionality into their ecosystem and into their protocols. That is really important in China, because as Bo from Cryptocurrency Australia has mentioned, and I think I even found some links that he linked me to, or maybe in the other way, there are super nodes that are really significant, and they are being built via a very high-tech satellite system in China, and that is going to make efficiency, it was going to make China a world leader in terms of speeds of the blockchain, and it's certainly just going to be a really competitive space. So NEOQ is just so key, because as many of you know, quantum computing is at the forefront of much of the tech that's happening at the moment. So yeah, it's a way of making sure that they are still competitive. Okay, so NEOFS, another thing that I think is very cool. NEOFS, I just wanted to go, I'm just rambling on and not using the screen, but when I was mentioning before that CryptoFuture, I'll just go back. CryptoFuture had led me to this awesome site where someone named Justin Breen, it looks like, has made a fantastic NEO sort of presentation, and in that there's also mention of NEOFS. So I'll play it for you for a moment. You probably won't be able to hear it when I do release this video, but basically, you will hear it.
Since the dawn of time, there have been radical revolutions in technology that have changed.
Okay, I won't play it all through, but you can hear that I've just been looking at it. Basically, it goes through and it does a really cool presentation, but what I like most is that it goes on to talk about key aspects of NEO, and they eventually get to the smart contracts, which is just one aspect of them, but then they go further. So I'll just play that bit and you'll be able to hear it a bit.
NEO is leading the way in blockchain development with features like NEOX, a protocol that supports cross-chain asset exchange and distribution services, and NEOQ for lattice-based cryptography in a post-quantum world.
Okay, so the way they explain it is to do with the cryptography, but again, it's also to do with trying to make sure that there's protections in place as the quantum system evolves.
With even more features such as NEOMessage, which supports secure encrypted peer-to-peer messaging,
developing
and
very fast,
NEOFS for distributed cloud storage being developed.
And NEOFS, finally, absolute powerhouse when it comes to decentralized clouds. It's a bit like Siacoin, but the thing is, we all must remember, I think, that if you're an investor in NEO, you're investing in all of these different functionalities. They aren't dApps. They are embedded within the ecosystem of NEO itself. So you've got your NEOFS, you've got your NEOMessage, you've got your NEOX and NEOQ, and then you've got an endless list of fantastic benefits just to being within the NEO ecosystem, like the interoperability and the fact that there's indivisibility of the NEO coin itself. There's just so many cool things, and there's so many rewards out there via the gas system that I think that if anyone did all this research and didn't invest, I think that they personally would be at a loss, because we're at a really cool point in history where this blockchain is going to revolutionize current markets and current tech adoption. Okay, so that was it. I really wanted to share that with you. I would encourage you to go and check out more info, but now that I keep forgetting I'm using the screen, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about a few things. Firstly, I've changed my YouTube channel to Blockchain Brad because just makes more sense since my name is Brad. But I'm not a huge fan of jumping on the front of the screen and just going, hell for leather and having a chat with you. It's more about just trying to provide you with quality information. So, don't be surprised if for the most part you don't see me. Now, I really wanted to talk to you about this a very, very high quality post. It was written by a veterinarian named Ron C. So the fact that he's a vet, it's already an indicator of his intelligence and diligence. But what is really cool about his post is he goes into detail about the value of DNA. So I won't bore you, but I just highlighted a couple of things I wanted to mention. And one of them was that Ron goes on to say that on-chain was the first Chinese blockchain that joined Hyperledger, which is an open source blockchain project. And he did so with Eric. Dart went on and did that with Eric. But the reason why I broached that is because it really goes into a lot of detail of the evolution of NEO, but more importantly, and this is the thing I absolutely love, and I've put it on my Twitter, he has a visual graphic or a guide of how on-chain is structured, and you'll notice in it that NEO is in the center of that. And you can see how NEOX has a role, and there's a cross-chain adoption. When he does put those two arrows in, again, those two arrows going from that one bubble with NEO inside it across to the DNA ecosystem, remember both of those, the toing and froing in those arrows represents NEOX. That's essentially what it does. So, if you want to be part of on-chain and you've liked it, but you haven't been that much of a fan of NEO, well, now's a chance to reconsider your position, because with NEOX, there's this reciprocity between the two, and there's a conversation happening digitally between them very soon that is going to be useful through their permissioned and permissionless environments. Yeah, so check out this story. It's posted on Hack and Noon. So this post, and I just absolutely loved it. It went into such incredibly logical detail, and I just found it invaluable because I hadn't read a lot of this information elsewhere, and this person went into a lot of effort to, you know, try and explain a few things that perhaps a lot of people didn't know. Okay, the other thing I thought was worth mentioning is that on Reddit, about a month ago, Da Hongfei and Eric Zhang, they joined up, well, they took part in Twitter, and I'm sure they had previously, but there was just a lot of really cool information that came from a statement that was submitted by the NEO Council, saying that they were the first open source blockchain from China, and a lot of people were interacting, asking some really good questions. So if you want to get some good feedback from the CEOs, I would encourage you to go and check out that post by the NEO Council. And on that note, you know, the fact that a NEO Council exists is, again, even more proof that the way in which NEO is functioning is not necessarily a wholly and solely decentralized space. There is a level of governance, and that's why they have the governance token that is NEO, and the utility token as well, that's the gas. There has to be a degree of monetization of the entire platform, otherwise, you know, the key decisions can't be made. So whilst there's going to be voting power for everyone who holds NEO, there's no question that the fact that Da and Eric have a major stake in it is going to be an important factor in the future. It's a bit like, really, just you know, that the fact that they're going to have more shares than us, and we need to be aware of their position always, as you continue to invest in NEO. Okay, now I just wanted to talk also, there was an article released at, excuse me, at Meetup, which I thought was great, and it was basically, it was released on the 14th of September, and it was an initiative from, I'd imagine, the NEO Council to encourage interaction with locals in Shanghai. And the reason why I mention that is because I'm a big fan of the methodologies that NEO uses to interact with their shareholders and interested parties. They are really heavily involved in business in China through their on-chain, but they really do back up with action what the, well, they show a lot of respect to consumers of the NEO platform, shareholders, by doing these kinds of things. So check it out. It was posted on Meetup, and they did go ahead and have that meeting during a lunchtime session, and 75 people went, and there was all kinds of feedback as a result. I just thought it was very cool that they did that. Yeah, as I said, check out the Vimeo post that I hinted at before, that advertises and promotes NEO, that CryptoFuture was talking about. Definitely also check out his post on the 5th of August. Even though it's a while ago, it's an invaluable piece of information that few people are talking about. And finally, I guess just going back to the price itself, I'm going to refresh the market now and just see how it's going. Even just in the time we've been talking, you can see that there's a bit of movement happening, moving up to the 25.25 AUD mark, and you can see there's a lot of movement here. That's likely to, you know, oscillate from there down to the 24s again, but the main point is to note that there is an upward trend, you know, that's happening, and you know, over the 7 days it's also the case, and in the 14-day case you kind of want to see this, because this would suggest you know, at the bottom end, the tail end of a bear run, and that is more of the evidence there. So yeah, I'm not an analyst by any means. I'm just you know, a lay citizen of Australia, but I'm a really big fan of NEO and its tech. So I hope that's been helpful, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. I have actually joined in Australia an exchange called CoinSpot, and later on I'm going to set up an affiliate like Bo has done with his videos, only because, you know, if anyone wants to throw in a coin here and there, that'd be awesome. If not, totally cool, because I'm not monetizing any of my videos. I decided that from the beginning. It's really just about reinforcing education of quality crypto. So I'm going to sign off. It's Blockchain Brad, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks, guys.